Drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes, I'm always boarding. Just out touring down in Charlotte like I play for Hornets.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is TFG Sports Show. I am your host, Kendrick Henderson, and this is the best 30-minute sports talk show on social media. Hope you all are having a great Tuesday evening. When you get here, come in, hit that like, hit that comment button so we can wrap it up with taste. And we're going to talk sports for the next 30 minutes, give you the hot takes on the latest and what's going on. And also joining me, as you see on the screen, is my man, my fam, Vernon Speaks Sports, Auburn, Kennard Stewart. How you doing, brother? How you doing this evening?
Doing pretty good, man. Glad to be on the show tonight. Definitely enjoyed the football game from last night. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you fine. You got me?
Okay, yeah. You just got a little static, but I think it'll wear off here in just a second.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm glad we can hear each other. All right, Real Estate Insider, what's up? Thanks for joining us. We're going to jump right into it. But again, before we get into it, guys, please come in, hit that like, hit that comment button, talk to us, and share this to all your social media platforms. Now, we're going to talk about the recap of last night's national championship game, those Georgia Bulldogs versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. And man, oh man, that first half was a dogfight. No pun intended, no biting off of the Georgia Bulldogs. But the second half turned into quite an entertaining game. The Georgia Bulldogs did what a lot of people said they couldn't do. They beat them Alabama Crimson Tide 33-18 to win their first national championship since 1980. And before I give my take, my man Vernon, you know I got to put you on the spot. You said there is no way in hell that Georgia would beat Alabama. Your thoughts on last night's game?
You know, I have a lot of thoughts on last night's game. I thought that, you know, Georgia definitely came in with an excellent game plan. Definitely different especially from an aggression standpoint from the last time. Now, when I thought that, you know, Georgia didn't have a chance in hell, it was really because of the quarterback position for Georgia. I thought Stetson Bennett, I thought the moment would be way too big for him, but he actually proved that not to be true. But he also had a lot of help around him, especially on the defensive side of the football field, where now let's just rewind back to the first game. On defense, Georgia only had 4 tackles for loss, no sacks. This time, Georgia had 9 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, and one of the biggest keys to the game, in my opinion, was the fact that Bryce Young did not have those chunk plays running the football. He didn't have those running lanes that he had the first time. As a matter of fact, the first time around, he had about 3 carries, I think for about 40-something yards, but those were 40 crucial yards for Georgia for Alabama, one of them that actually turned into a touchdown for Alabama in that last game. This particular time, Bryce Young had 3 running attempts, and then you got to counter the sacks that you have in there too. He only had he had negative 43 yards. And also, Alabama was missing a lot of production from not only Mechie, who was hurt, the wide receiver, number 8. I think his name is John Mechie III.
Yes, John Mechie III, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He had a ACL injury in that first game, so his production was not going to be there to begin with. But then midway, I want to say through the second quarter.
Yeah, second quarter. Mm-hmm.
Jamison Williams had a really nice play. And it looked like Alabama was headed towards some of the production that they had the first time around. But it turns out that Jamison Williams actually either tore his ACL, but has some level of an ACL injury. But guess what Alabama was missing by his lack of production? They were missing 184 yards receiving. And then you had to depend on not only not having Mechie in there, not having Williamson in there, but you had some very talented receivers, but they didn't have their leadership there. And that was one of the biggest differences of the game. And also, N'Kobe Dean, one of the best linebackers in all of college football, he had a really huge game, 7 tackles, 1 for a loss, and they consistently had pressure on Bryce Young. As a matter of fact, I thought Bryce Young was going to get hurt
Yeah,
as
I did
much as
too.
in that game. He's not a really big guy, but he was taking a lot of huge hits in that game, and that told the story. And we can talk about this some more if you would like.
No, I mean, you pretty much hit on the points that I were going to hit on, but the key, I think, the Georgia defense, I noticed their blitz package, the way they were blitzing their linebackers, they really kept, they really made Bryce Young look uncomfortable in the pocket all night.
Right.
Again, like you said, I thought he was going to get hurt. And he had 2 interceptions. I mean, he
Yeah.
didn't throw a lot of interceptions. And that last one obviously was the killer.
Yeah.
That they ran back for that touchdown, and that pretty much sealed the game for
Yeah. It was
Georgia at that point.
dagger in their hearts in that game, and I think also that Georgia came in with a much, like you said before, a much more aggressive game plan. This is something that I didn't talk to you about before this show, but I just kind of snuck and looked at the adjustments that Georgia made in the second half of the SEC championship game. And when I saw some of the exotic packages, I started to see them switch their linemen like they did at the last minute right before the plays call. And I was like, if Georgia can do this against Alabama and take away some of the things that Bryce Young is comfortable with, take away the running game. They did that.
Mm-hmm.
I even think even with Jameson Williams in the game, I still think Georgia had a great game plan, and they definitely did what they needed to do to give themselves an opportunity to Alabama. And I think it was a really good game plan by Kirby Smart and his team. I don't think it was a situation where Georgia played over their heads. They played the type of defense that Georgia has played all year.
Yeah, yeah,
Had
yeah,
one down
yeah,
whole game, and that's just testament of what Georgia's been able to accomplish against
yeah.
pretty much everyone they played the whole year.
And I totally agree with you, Kennard. And also, they secondary played a whole lot better. If you noticed that too, I was a little iffy on Georgia's secondary. They secondary played a lot better as well. Defensively as a whole, they just was getting at them. They was playing like dogs.
Yeah,
Brian Robinson Jr. He had a couple of good runs. He got a couple of, but he was never really able to find that rhythm like he did in the previous game against Cincinnati. So yeah, I give kudos to Georgia, Kirby Smart. They made those adjustments. Some people think that big layoff between the championship game and the national title game, it could be a good or bad thing. I think this time it was a good thing for Georgia because they made some adjustments, just like you were saying on that defensive front, how they would adjust prior to the snap of the ball and things like that.
right. And I think Alabama has a relatively inexperienced team, but they're very talented. I think they were doing excellent service to themselves just by being in the college football playoff. If you think about the regular season for Alabama, probably should have lost to LSU, probably should have lost to Auburn, definitely lost to Texas A&M. Had some opportunities to where this could have. I think Nick Saban actually dodged having one of his worst seasons since his inception, to be honest with you. He also had a situation to where this is the first, no one ever thought it would happen. He actually lost to 2 of his former colleagues
Mm-hmm.
season in Kirby Smart and Jimbo Fisher. They both had great game plans and they both executed very well. But let's not take too much away from Alabama in how phenomenal, considering all things, that it was for them to even be there, for them to be the SEC champions, considering that the SEC, I think, was pretty talented this year. If you
Mm-hmm.
look at all the teams in the SEC who had opportunities, I think Auburn had an opportunity down the stretch. They didn't take advantage. Texas A&M definitely had an opportunity. Ole Miss having the first 10-win season for the first time in their history, even though they did lose their bowl game, but Ole Miss represented very well. So I think this says a lot about the SEC in how well they recruit, how well they compete on a week in and week out basis. And the SEC championship game definitely didn't disappoint. A lot of folks look at the final score, but Alabama actually had the lead going into the fourth quarter and
Right.
just imposed their will. And the pick six pretty much solidified everything. And that's where you have Kirby Smart, Georgia, with their first national championship since I was 6 months old. So I mean,
You tell it. Oh, now you making me feel old because I was 11. So there you have it. Since they last, but there you have it. The CFP championship last night. Georgia finishes the season 14-1, the most wins in school history, and the SEC has won 12 of the last 16 college football national championships. So congratulations to Georgia Bulldogs. Now let's move on to Mr. Antonio Brown. We all know what this dude has done the last week and a half. He was finally released by the Buccaneers. He went to a Brooklyn Nets game. He shot a video. His agent has said that they wanted his incentives to be guaranteed. The Buccaneers said that they needed him to get see their doctor. Just back and forth. Then Brown went after Tom Brady, said he really wasn't his friend. He just used him for football, yada, yada, yada. Now the latest on today, TMZ caught up with him. Now he says he wished he wouldn't have done what he did during the Jets, and he's having dinner with Kanye West and his new girl. Man, what do you make of this Antonio Brown mess?
So I don't want to for those people who actually are going through mental illness and actually have to take medication for this and have documented issues in a serious manner. I don't want to insult them by even putting Antonio Brown in this category. This is a cataclysmic series of just bad decisions. The fact that Kanye West is involved tells me a lot that I need to know. And also, we have to understand that you have to make good business decisions. So to start, the situation with the New York Jet Stadium, that's a bad decision to begin with. And I'm thinking about even from a professional standpoint. You and I are both professional people. We talked about this on the last video. I don't believe that I can go to work tomorrow and take my uniform off and crip walk up down the line of where we're productive and expect to have a job. I can't call someone out of their name and expect to have a job. No matter how much this company has vested in me, they still have a perception that they have to keep. And I think Antonio Brown is a situation to where, let's just say for shits and laughs, as a culture, and I'm going to bring just the African American culture just for a second, that there has to be a certain level of accountability to where we have to understand that there are checks and balances in things that we do. That's just not a check or balance. And if you do think that that's a check or a balance, it's a check that your ass is not going to be able to cash. And I think that's where Antonio Brown is at this point. Of course, he's apologetic because he's lost so much by these series of bad decisions. And teaming up with Kanye West is probably not the best PR situation when you're already doing stupid shit. So I think Antonio Brown deserved to be released from the Bucks. And considering all of those players who have been blackballed from the league for more noble purposes, like your Colin Kaepernicks and people like, if Antonio Brown finds a spot, I think that would be ludicrous on the NFL's part because there's so many wide receivers that can not only replace his production, but they can also find someone that can produce maybe just a little bit less than him, but don't have to deal with all the bullshit that comes with him.
The theatrics. That shows you all you would need to know about the NFL if he lands on another team. And I'm not about trying to take food out of a man's mouth and his employment. But come on, man. Sometimes, my whole thing is just be accountability is my whole thing. Be accountable for your actions and don't start throwing other people under the bus and pointing at this is the reason why it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. Man, you were getting paid. your quarterback was trying to get you your incentives that was based in your contract. Now, you wouldn't have had those incentives if you hadn't been making an ass prior to coming to the Buccaneers. The Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders got rid of you because you was doing crazy stuff. The Steelers covered up for you for years because of your antics. So quit blaming everybody else and accept your own accountability. Now you out here making videos. He's made a music video, say from the pit to the temple. He's made a music video. Come on, Antonio Brown.
From the pit to the temple. I'm assuming that's one of those started at the bottom. Now
that's exactly what it is.
If you think about Antonio Brown was actually invited to walk on at, I think it was the Chippewas that he played for in college.
Yeah, that was it. Western Michigan, Central Michigan, somebody. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was invited to walk on there. So I understand, yes, there has been a struggle for Antonio Brown to get started because he had to walk on there. He wound up having a great career college-wise there. He was actually drafted in the 6th round, which is an even more struggle, and he continued to climb his way up. But I will tell you, in climbing your way up, there's a certain level of personal development that has to come to where you appreciate your own struggle and you appreciate how you've been able to sort of get over. But why would you ruin all of that work you did to get over and then try to blame the struggle for why you did what you did?
Right. It doesn't add up. Doesn't make sense. I totally agree. So, I'm sure this is not the last of us hearing from Antonio Brown again. He's making music videos. He's going around. He's done some podcasts and stuff. So,
he's going to kind of do like, what's the guy's name that played basketball that does the podcast now? I can't think of his name though, and I hate that because I usually am spot on with this.
Not Matt Barnes and Steve Jackson. You're not talking about them, are you?
But it's
okay.
It's something life.
Okay. I can't think of that one. Did he played in the NBA?
Bus Life.
Oh, you talking about Kwame Brown? Yeah, Kwame Brown.
What he's going to do is he's probably going to take the Kwame Brown route.
Mm-hmm.
Start doing podcasts and things like that and talk about how he was blackballed and continue to get a fan base and then get some kind of toxic content going with that. I think I can easily see that happening.
That's probably right. So, well, anyway, guys, we know this isn't the last we're going to hear of Antonio Brown. I hopefully he gets himself together. I don't think he's mentally unstable. I think he's mentally stable. I just think it's all about me. So, Antonio Brown, we wish you luck, brother. But that music video that ain't it. But
right.
To each his own. So,
because I'm always good to laugh at some bad music. So I mean,
hey, check it out, man. For the new kids, the kids, they rap stuff. They'll probably think it's hot. For me, nah, I'm good on that. I think he's a better football player.
I guarantee you it's terrible.
Okay. I want you to check it out. It's called From the Pit to the Palace. A little snippet. It's on Instagram. Check it out. So anyway, all right, Antonio Brown. Good luck to you, brother. All right, we're moving on to our NFL wildcard preview. We're going to go through this real quick. We got the NFL wildcard games coming this weekend, starting Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday night game. The Saturday games we got the 5th seeded Raiders at the 4th seeded Cincinnati. That's at 3:30 on NBC. We got the 6th seeded New England Patriots at the 3rd seed Buffalo Bills at 7:15 on CBS. And that's Saturday night. That's Saturday schedule. On Sunday, we have the number 7 seeded Philadelphia Eagles at the number 2 seed Tampa Bay at 12 p.m. The middle game, the game everybody's probably going to talk about, number 6 seed 49ers at the Cowboys, number 3 seed. That's at 3:30 on CBS. And the night game is number 7 seed Pittsburgh at the number 2 seed Kansas City at 7:15 on NBC. And the Monday night game is the number 5 seed Arizona at number 4 Rams at 7:15 p.m. on ESPN. Out of all those games, Kennard, which one is you think the most intriguing?
I talked about this before. I thought this year, from the outside looking in, of course.
Hey, Shantae, thanks for joining us. Go ahead.
I'm not a huge NFL watcher, and that's mainly because the players just flip around too much. You don't have what you had back in the day where you knew Joe Montana was going to be 49ers, Lawrence Taylor was going to be with the New York Giants, but you have a lot of, I think now you have a lot of parity in the NFL. I think right now, as far as from a fan standpoint, without having all the dogs in the fight that I need to have, I like the 49ers and the Cowboys.
The nostalgia. Yeah, the nostalgia. Yeah.
See, now rewind this back to me. Now, what are the seeds between those two again?
The Cowboys are the 3 seed, the 49ers are the 6 seed.
And see, this is where things get a little dangerous. I think the Cowboys are starting to peak at the right time. I mean, the 49ers are starting to peak at the right time. I think the Cowboys have had an up and down season. They've lost some games that they probably shouldn't have lost, and they probably won some games that they shouldn't have won. But either way, they're in a position. I don't think they're back because this ain't the Cowboys that we're accustomed to from being successful back in the mid 90s. But I think this is a huge game for the Cowboys to solidify their stance in the NFL and moving forward and actually going forward into the playoffs. So if you're a fan that I'm accustomed to, the Cowboys and the 49ers is never a bad bill to begin with.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I agree. That definitely is the bill. But there's the other two games I find intriguing. You got the Patriots at the Bills. This will be the third time they meet because they in the same division. So 3 times. You know what they say is always hard to beat a team twice, but both these teams split. So they meet for the third time. And Pittsburgh at Kansas City, that's an intriguing one too, because this will be the second time they met. The first time a couple of weeks ago, Kansas City beat them pretty good. And Pittsburgh basically snuck in because the Raiders beat the Chargers in overtime on that field goal, and that's how the Pittsburgh Steelers even got in the playoffs. So to me, all 3 of those are the games to watch, but definitely 49ers at the Cowboys because it's definitely nostalgia. It takes you back to the 90s, like Shante says. And you got Dan Quinn, who's the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, going against his used to be offensive coordinator, Kyle Shanahan, when he was with Atlanta. So you got the offensive Kyle Shanahan going against his former head coach when they were with the Falcons. So that's another thing that's going to play into this 49ers Cowboys matchup. So that's our NFL wildcard weekend preview. It's a lot of football going on starting on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday night for the first time will be a wildcard football game. So guys, get your popcorn ready and saddle up because we're going to get some good football going on. So let's get to our next topic. We're talking Aaron Rodgers. My man Aaron Rodgers calls a sports writer a bum. Now, last week, a sports writer out of Chicago by the name of Hub Arkish, who's a Chicago-based sports reporter who owns one of the 50 votes for the Most Valuable Player Award, AP, in the NFL, said he would not vote for Rodgers because he's the biggest jerk in the league and a bad guy. Arkish is also the editor of Pro Football Weekly. Arkish made his comments on Chicago radio station 670 The Score. Well, Aaron Rodgers responded and says, first of all, I don't know the guy, and he doesn't know me. He's never interviewed me, and for him to kind of call me the biggest jerk and all that, he's never interviewed me. And he said, I think he's a bum. That was Aaron Rodgers, and I paraphrase his comment on the sports writer. Kennard, I want to get your thoughts. When is it when media people kind of cross the line when we're talking? What's the line when you're talking about sports athletes as far as a media person?
Well, I think as a media person, you can criticize, you can analyze their level of play. I think when you start to take personal jabs, especially if you're not really, familiar with that particular player on a personal level, you don't know how they are interpersonally with other people. I think that's when things start to get dangerous. Now, some guys that cross the line, I think Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp.
Oh, you think they cross the line a little bit?
I think they come very close to crossing the line, but they never really jab a person as far as calling someone a jerk.
Right.
About if a person does a jerk move, or never come at a person from a personal standpoint. So I think when a sports writer gets to a point where they're taking personal jabs, especially unwarranted or undocumented, or you can't prove these personal jabs, to call a guy a jerk, I think that just crosses the line. All Aaron Rodgers, I think one distasteful comment deserves another.
Right, I'm with you, because see, I think sometimes media gets it mixed up. These players are still people. Don't get it twisted now. You just can't be taking personal shots at me now.
All the time. And I think a lot of what the players do as far as performance is absolutely horrible. However, I understand that these are kids. I understand that they have parents. I understand that they see social media. And I understand that they are I think too many times, Kenny, too many times we take away the human element. We dehumanize athletes.
Right.
And
I agree.
we just think we can just get on these platforms and say, you suck. You come from a horrible family. Your dad smoke weed, all this stuff. We think we can just get on here and say these things about these folks and not have any kind of backlash. And I think I'm not agreeing with Aaron Rodgers, but I understand.
I'm agreeing with him. I would have called him a bum too, because my big thing is, unless
brother, you don't know me.
You don't know me. Yeah, exactly. You've never obviously you work in the Chicago market, so I already know you're not gonna like me anyway.
Because Chicago and Green Bay,
they're right. You know they rivals, so I get it. I mean, but
guy from Minnesota saying this about Aaron Rodgers, that's a rival. That's just like somebody from the New Orleans Saints saying that about Matt Ryan.
Right, exactly. So I mean, I don't blame Aaron for calling him. First of all, he's like, I've never interviewed this guy. He doesn't know me. So for him to just call me a jerk and he don't know me, I don't think that's cool. And I'm gonna call him a bum. And I think athletes or entertainers have the right to come back at media people when they cross the line. And I think sometimes some of us do cross the line a little bit.
Yeah. And and listening to all his credentials, I think he felt like because of his power in being able to vote someone in as
bam, there you have it. Yes.
As a player of the year or whatever the case may be. I think he thought his stance as a writer gave him the proverbial media right to say these things about Aaron Rodgers and I think I think this writer had the I think he felt in an egotistical way like I have the one up on you. You're a rival team, so I'm going to utilize this opportunity to say some crazy stuff about you when I hold the cards.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to mention that because I think some of these writers they get arrogant because they have the right to vote on awards, and I wish we could change that, because I don't think a lot of these sports writers should be given that privilege to vote on MVPs and most improved and all that, because I think a lot of times they mix it up. It's all about what that person does on the field and their profession. It's not about if you like them or not, or if they're not a good teammate, because that's the big thing T.O. ran into with the Hall of Fame. Because while y'all keep talking about I suppose he was a bad athlete, but look at my stats. Look at what I did in the field. That's what going into Hall of Fames is about. It's about my play, not about me.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, you take the athletic element of it and bringing personal stuff in.
Right. So again, Aaron Rodgers called the sports writer a bum. Obviously, they won't be having drinks together, but I'm quite sure Aaron Rodgers could care less, and I'm sure the guy, what's his name, Hub Arkish, could care less either. So there you have it. Now we're down to our final thoughts. My brother Kennard, tell me what's on your mind, bro.
Man, I thought Georgia had a great game plan. I really thought that they didn't necessarily shock the world because they were actually favored to win the game. I was just shocked that they were able to pull it off. But all of the things that made Georgia successful all year showed up last night. Alabama couldn't score. They found difficulty moving the football. Georgia did a great job of taking away the things that helped Alabama supplement their lack of abilities on offense, and they just took it all away. Did you see the flea flicker from Bryce Young? No.
Yeah, right.
Because Georgia way. The second thing we got to look at is Antonio Brown. I'm thinking this is going to be an ongoing conversation. It probably doesn't need to be, but it's going to be an ongoing conversation. And, I think media outlets from a sports standpoint, when you think about the Aaron Rodgers situation, they take their power a little bit too far. Kind of like sometimes I think officials in games utilize their power. They have too much power in certain games. And, last but not least, this has been a really good show. I really enjoyed doing this tonight. I'm glad I kind of got my shit together to be able to do it.
I am too, brother. I am glad you did too. Always, I love having you on, man, because we can chop it up, man. Always, I get it. It's a lot better when we, we can bounce stuff off of each other and give our insights. So I love it, and I'm glad that you joined us. And we're gonna keep doing this for you guys. So make sure y'all don't forget to like, share, subscribe to TFG Sports Media here on YouTube and on Facebook, and also make sure you subscribe to Vernon Sports on YouTube. Now, my final thoughts, real quick. It was Pink Slip Monday yesterday for a lot of coaches, and another one got a pink slip about an hour ago. Joe Judge, the Giants got rid of him. They fired him. So, and he should have been fired anyway. But so we now have 7 job openings: Denver, Miami, Las Vegas, Jacksonville, Minnesota, Chicago, and the Giants. Now, I just want to know if some of our brown-skinned brothers going to get a shot, like the Eric B. Enemies, like the Todd Bowles, like the Byron Leftwich, like the Vance Josephs, Leslie Frazier's. Hopefully they get interviews, and not just because the Rooney Rule is in effect, because we all know that rule, all it is you just required to hire interview minority. To me, that's just tokenism at its best. It really is no teeth to it. So hopefully, especially Eric Bieniemy, it's time for him to get a shot. Offensive coordinator under Andy Reid, he should get a job, one of those jobs. Hopefully he will. So those are my final thoughts. Vernon Speaks Sports, my fam, Kennard, thanks for joining me tonight. And as always, a pleasure. You guys, don't forget, like, share, subscribe. TFG Sports Media here on Facebook and on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe to my man, Vernon Speaks Auburn Sports on YouTube. This has been your sports guy, Kendrick, on TFG Sports Media. We'll see you again this time at 6:30 next Tuesday. We out. Peace.
That money clip us now, the new now looks like, whoa. Upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like, whoa, 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 whoa. I hit record a drop, you can't ignore.